If I had to figure out how many births I've done, I would have to give you an educated guess that it's between 2,000 and 3,000. What are they doing?
Don't interrupt me.
Joni's calling me under her wing.
I'm not going to do this. No hospital or doctor's going to do this for them. Their body knows exactly what to do. The birth is the icing on the cake.
Yeah! Good job, Andrea!
Would you have a home birth?
No. Because I'm a big proponent of medicine and doctors, and I feel like they've gone to school for a long time, and I want to be able to be in a hospital where things are available if something were to go wrong. I think that I would consider it as an option possibly, but I think that my own body issues would probably prevent me from doing it. Probably not. I've had 7 children already, and I've had complications. Want to risk it.
First time I really realized that we needed some childbirth education in this community was my second child, my daughter Abigail, where I attended some childbirth education classes, and I remember the teacher, she was showed a birth, a natural birth. She said, this is what a natural birth is supposed to be. And everybody in the class was like, oh my gosh, that's disgusting, I can't see that. Even the dads were like, I don't see that. And it's like, you are currently pregnant. Like, this is going to happen to you. I didn't understand that. I thought that was so silly. But that's when I really knew. I really knew at that point. And for the teacher herself, for the instructor to see how close they were, and for her to not say anything, I would have paused the movie and said, well, why can't you see that? What is it about that scares you? Because it was coming from fear and the lack of knowledge of women not believing that they can do this. They were saying, oh, I can't watch that. It's like, forget about watching it. You're going to go through it.
Mason's last name is what?
Woodson. Woodson.
Okay, how much does Mason weigh?
I don't know.
How old is he now?
2.
Okay. Mason, come on over here. I need to see how much you weigh. Childbirth education now, instead of being at a community center or one-on-one at the Healthy Start Coalition building, is being done inside the medical facilities. And that's not a real neutral ground to try to give people information or choices in childbirth. It sort of gives the impression that this is where you should be and where you need to be. So I've already complained to both the Monroe Coalition and the Miami-Dade Coalition. Andrea was here and we talked to the lady about what goes on in the childbirth classes that are at these facilities, and it's really trying to make a compliant patient. They're not really interested in educating anybody. There is no benefit for Dr. So-and-so to tell someone about the benefits of natural childbirth. There is no benefit for him to tell her that home birth is possible or covered by Medicaid. And that's the crux of the problem, is because everybody's worried about the almighty dollar and their own self, that they're not really concerned about what's best for the client. And certainly sometimes I have to make the decision during prenatal care that this client is better served in a hospital environment. And I certainly would never keep anybody if that was the case, that they needed to be where they should be instead of with me.
When I first decided to have a home birth, I shuffled my way down to my OBGYN's office, and he looked at me. He looked at my medical records. He was like, why are you here? And I was like, oh, I'm here to collect my medical records. And he's like, for what? Where are you going? He said, well, I'm gonna have a home birth. And he flipped. He was like, what? You cannot have a home birth. Who are you going to? Are you going to Joni? And I said, yeah, I'm going to, that little, she's a witch.
Unfortunately, a lot of the doctors, I think, have failed to realize that sometimes it's not the best fit for a patient to be with them. And they're not going to ever say, just like when Andrea tried to look for information on home birth, they become very angry and resentful that somebody would even question that this is not the best place for them to be.
I've also done a tent event for Joni. And in the tent event, I sat there and I spoke to a few mommies, and I gave them goodie bags, pamphlets, information, business cards of the birthing center. And it was shocking to know that a lot of them wanted natural births. Most of them had C-sections, and all of them said that they searched for tubs. And I found it funny because they said they all want water births. And one of them said one of the hospitals here have a birthing tub, but when she went to go birth there, they told her, no, we don't really use that thing, and you already have medicine and you're hooked up to the monitor, so you can't really move. So she never had the water birth she wanted. And it's beyond me how they searched it and didn't find the birthing center, which has a beautiful jacuzzi in it. The same way that everybody knows that, there's a hospital here, there's a hospital over there, they need to have the knowledge and say, well, there's a birthing center over here too.
I started catching babies on my own. I guess it was probably around 1979. At that time, it was not possible to get a license to be a midwife. And I got certified to teach childbirth classes for the Association for Childbirth at Home International. In the childbirth classes, people would come and say, would you help us at our birth? We heard you helped so-and-so. And it sort of got a life of its own and grew like a snowball going downhill. My preceptor was a registered nurse from the Keys, and she taught me about vaginal exams and how to examine people, how to palpate bellies. And after about 2 years of working with her, she pretty much kicked me out on my own, and I started catching babies on my own. And I basically was taking care of people that didn't have money and didn't have insurance. When Miami-Dade opened up a professional midwifery program, which I completed, and I opened up my clinic in Florida City in the year 2000. It gave me a sense of that I had arrived. I actually could stick my little shingle on the door, and people, instead of seeing me bring my little bag in out of my Volkswagen, they could actually come in and they saw that I had a centrifuge and a tub, and I had blood pressure cuffs here, and I had a place for a lending library. I think another common misconception is that midwives don't have any emergency equipment. I've had a patient tell me that the doctor told her, well, if anything goes wrong, Joni won't have anything there to help you. In actuality, I have exactly the same equipment our local hospital does. I have an oxygen tank, I have an ambu bag, and I have drugs for bleeding, and I'm certified in newborn resuscitation. Today's modern midwife really embraces technology. And you might go to Angie's List, you might check for references. We have to practice according to the law. And the laws and rules have very specific parameters for safe practice. The hair-raising emergencies that we hear so much about on Baby Story and all these shows on TV, I don't see those very much. I mean, I've seen a few complications. I've never lost a mother or a baby.
It's a shame that women can't even think, or they jump, or they cringe at, oh my God, birth? No, not for me. That's not for me. Because it's one of the most precious times. You get this feeling of accomplishment. You get this tremendous bond with this being that you just created. There's so many different connections, so many different levels. It should be a spiritual, and even if you're not a spiritual person, it should be such a physical event and such an empowering event that women should look forward to birth. Women shouldn't run away or cringe or fear or even disgusted. It's a beautiful process.
Do your own research and make your own decision. And when you've decided, feel comfortable with it and go with that. It's your birth. Nobody can tell you how to do it. And I hope the best for you.